Hey everybody, and welcome to the Cooking Frankly channel, and thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about different ways to keep your knife sharp. Now, in our previous video we talked about what 3 knives you need in your kitchen, and now we need to keep those knives sharp. So first off, we'll talk about honing steel. Now, a honing steel is used to keep your existing edge sharp on your knife. So what happens with a knife is after use it might form waves in the actual blade. So in order to keep those waves out and keep it nice and sharp, we'll use a honing steel, and I generally use mine before I even start cooking, run it through a few times, and it'll be good to go. Now, if I'm doing a lot of cooking and I'm cooking all day and I'm doing a lot of chopping, then you can use it at the beginning and you can use it multiple times as you're cooking as well, just to keep that knife razor sharp. So I'll demonstrate quickly how to use a honing steel. And first off, knives have different angles on their edges, so they can run from 10 all the way up into the 20s. So this one is about a 17-degree angle. Now, how do we figure that out? How do we know which way to hold our knife in order to hit about that 17-degree angle? So if we start here, that's a 90-degree angle. Half of that is going to be 45, and half of that is 22 and a half. And then if we move it a little further, then we'll be right about in that 17-degree angle. So what we want to do first is start at the very heel of your blade and run it all the way down until it clears the tip. And you'll do this on either side, just like this. You can do it multiple times on one side and then switch sides, or you can do it one side, then the other side, one side, then the other side, whichever way you feel more comfortable. Whenever we're using our honing steel, you see how I'm gripping it nice and firm, and my fingers are below this portion here. We don't want to have our fingers up above, because if we come down, we're going to cut ourselves, and that just wouldn't be a good day, so we don't want to do that. So make sure you're holding it below this portion here, and you should be fine. And again, you'll run it through, and whenever you start feeling it, and never run your finger across the blade this way. You can run it sideways, just like this, and you can feel that the knife is getting sharper. Or you can always just cut something. That way you don't even have to worry about cutting yourself. So the honing steel is a daily maintenance. So again, before you even start cooking, you want to use that. While you're cooking, you would want to use that. And let's say that we've been cutting and we just find that our knife just isn't getting through the food the way it used to. Well, then we need to move up to sharpening. There's many different ways to sharpen knives. Some people will swear by one way, some will swear by the other. You'll have to find out which way is best for you, what's easiest for you, what's most cost effective for you, and I'll briefly just go over a few different ways, and you can make that decision yourself. So first off, we're going to talk about a single stage pull through sharpener. You can generally pick these up relatively cheap. So whenever we're using one of these, what we want to do is put it at the edge of a countertop or an island, somewhere where the knife can run all the way through, where you're not going to hit the edge of the countertop or an island or table, wherever you might happen to be sharpening your knife. So whenever we're going to do this, we want to hold on to our sharpener nice and firm. We'll start at the heel of the blade, which is all the way to the end. If you saw the other video, what 3 knives you need in the kitchen, I explained different portions of the knife, and you'll know what I'm speaking of. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. You might learn something. So we'll start at the heel of the blade. We'll hold on to our knife firmly. We'll apply a little bit of pressure, and we'll pull it through, keeping the blade nice and straight. We don't want to have it angled at all, because there's little stones inside, and if we have it to one angle, then it'll throw off the sharpness. So we'll put it in nice and straight, we'll apply pressure, and we'll pull through. And for me, right as it clears the tip, I like to pull up. That way it doesn't hit the side of the sharpener and inadvertently start dulling the tip before we even sharpened it. So that's a good little tip that you might want to try out. So you might pull this through maybe 5 or more times. Check your blade, see if it's nice and sharp. If it is, great. If not, you can continue pulling it through a few more times until you have the sharpness that you're happy with. So again, this is a single stage pull through. This also is a single stage pull through. It works the same exact way that the other one works. We'll move on to a double stage. Now, this double stage has a coarse side on this side and a fine side on that side. So we'll start with the coarse side first, and you want to pull through 5 or more times until you're happy with the sharpness. And then the fine side, again, pull through 5 or more times until you're happy with the sharpness after you pull through. Now, the fine side, what happens with that is it takes away those little small burrs that form whenever you're sharpening a knife. This way, it'll be even sharper than if you're just using a single stage versus a double stage. They come in multiple stages. So you might have a single stage, a double stage. There could be 3 stages, 4 stages that you can purchase out there as well. So again, this is another type of sharpener, and these are manual. Now, there's sharpeners that are similar to this, and they're electric, that you plug into the wall. They have wheels in them that sharpen the knife. You do it the same way, you just pull it through. Those are generally more expensive than these type of sharpeners, so you'll just have to make the choice if you want to spend the money for those versus the pull throughs. Again, it's a preference thing. So moving on, we'll talk about sharpening stones now. Now, again, sharpening stones come in many different grits. That's usually how they're rated. So this stone actually is a medium grit and a fine grit, and there's numbers that they use as well. You can have multiple sharpening stones, where if you want a knife super sharp, you can start at a really high grit and work your way down to a real fine grit. So you'll have to decide which way you want to go with that. And This is a little bit more work than this type. So what we'll do is I'll basically go over how to do this. I'm not going to show how to fully sharpen the knife with a stone. Maybe in later videos I might discuss and go into how to fully sharpen a knife. But for this video, this is just touching on what you'll need in your kitchen as you're doing your everyday cooking and whatnot. So first off, you can use the stone like you would a honing still. You can start at the heel of the blade on the top end of the stone and have it angled again, just like you would for the honing still, and you would pull it down all the way to the tip and do this several times. You would switch sides, do the same thing, or you can do it in stages. Some people might go one way, others might go both ways, or some people do a circular motion. Again, this is a preference, so you'll decide what you want to do. So what I mean by stages is you'll start on one side of the blade that covers the stone, then you'll move the knife over, do that section of the blade, and then do the other section and the final section, and then flip the knife over and do the same on the other side. Whenever you're using a sharpening stone, you want to make sure that it's on a surface that isn't going to slide around. You just don't want to have it on your countertop. This is a silicone, a piece of silicone that is firm, and it'll hold this nice and firm and it won't slide around. So make sure that you're not trying to do this in your hand, because you can possibly cut yourself, and we don't want that. So these are a few different ways to sharpen your knives. If you're not comfortable with doing any of these, then you can always take your knives to a professional locally and have them sharpen them for you. I don't know how much they're going to charge you, depending on the types of knives and how frequently you take them. I generally sharpen all my own knives. I never take them to a professional to do it. It's relatively easy to keep them sharp yourself, and that way you're not just throwing money away and having someone sharpen them for you. So, but if we are sharpening them ourselves, or even if we do take them somewhere else, we want to make sure that after we clean them, it's very easy to clean your knife. All you need is soap and water. That's it. You don't need any special other materials or liquids, anything like that. Just soap and water. Give it a nice scrub down, because as you're pulling the knives through, little pieces of metal will come off, and we don't want that in our food. So just make sure you wash your knives. After you wash it, dry them off. We don't want to throw them into a drawer, because that will just dull our knives after we just sharpened them. So we either want to use a magnetic strip knife holder or a butcher's block to put our knives in and store them whenever they're not in use. I hope you learned something today, and you can continue watching me locally on channel 93 for Comcast and 99 for AT&T customers. You can also find me on social media sites, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, and Google+, where you can subscribe for free and ask me questions directly. So don't forget to share, subscribe, give me a thumbs up for the videos, and keep on cooking.